Hey, welcome back, everybody. Dr. Greg Eckel, and this is What the Health. And our topic today is navigating a broken healthcare system. I have my guest, Susan Salenger, is the author and researcher behind SIDELINED, How Women Can Navigate a Broken Healthcare System. SIDELINED examines the many ways in which some women manage and sometimes mismanage their healthcare. Susan explores how women typically navigate the medical system as the gatekeepers for their families, and they tend to be extremely conscientious about taking care of themselves, yet at the same time inadvertently undermine their own care. Born and raised in Los Angeles, Susan attended UCLA to study English. After graduation, she worked alongside her husband, Fred, for 25 years at their production company, Salenger Films, which produced corporate training and development films distributed worldwide. Today, at age 80, Susan lives in Northern California to be near her incredible family, which includes her two daughters, four grandchildren, a cat named Max, and a dog named JD. When she is not speaking about her book or spending time with family and friends, you'll find Susan powerlifting to stay in shape. Welcome aboard.
Well, thank you so much. And actually 81, not 80.
81.
Happy
I'm
birthday, Susan.
noticing that you had a birthday. Excellent. Well, I would love to know, how did you come down this path, right?
Oh,
What inspired you to write this book?
it was a long journey and sort of a weird one, but about, gosh, when I was in my 20s or 30s, I agreed to have some surgery that I knew I didn't need. I mean, the details are irrelevant, but I knew I didn't need the surgery, and yet I agreed to it. So I had this, they did some exploratory surgery. They found nothing. I had been on new medication. I went back on the old medication and everything was fine. So, I was upset with myself, but oh well, and life goes on, and I was working and I had two kids, etc. So then after 25 or 30 years, my husband and I sold our business, and I thought, this is great, I'm going to retire. And that lasted 2, 3 seconds, something like that. Bad idea for me. So I
Yeah,
went back to school because my kids said if I didn't do something, they were going to kill me. I was driving everybody crazy. So
sure.
I took some anthropology classes, and which I had never taken as an undergraduate. And so for one of the classes, I did a project on women who had undergone hysterectomies. How I landed there, I don't know. But nevertheless, some of them had also agreed to that surgery, which was irrevocable, even though they weren't sure that they needed it. And of course, that triggered my memory. So I was very curious how women make medical decisions. I mean, why do we do this to ourselves? And do we? Maybe it was just me and these few other people. So I interviewed about 60 women, all with different diseases, and wanted to find out, what behaviors they had in common. And many had agreed to procedures, surgeries, take medications that they weren't sure they needed. And it just became really interesting to me, and I'm still fascinated by it, frankly.
That truly is. And women in our practice are about 70% of our patients. And in medicine, you realize women do take care of themselves a lot more than men. Uh,
Yes.
but then here you're finding that there's a what's going on with that? What is
Well,
going
I
on?
think I actually think a couple of things. I mean, we do, as women, we do take care of ourselves. We're
Yeah.
very proactive
And
that
the
way.
family, for crying out
Oh,
loud.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, we're literal. I mean, this fascinated me. Women do 80% of all the caretaking in the world. I mean, not just here. It transcends cultures. But I think what's happening is women, well, we listen to the doctor and we hesitate to ask questions. I was interested to see that in the literature says that women hesitate to ask for second opinions more than men do. And I
Huh.
think that's a lot of it because we don't want to be rude, so we don't ask questions. We don't want to hurt the doctor's feelings. So we sort of take what's said and we run with it. Plus, we're busy because we're taking care of the family and the kids and parents, and we have jobs. So it's a pain in the neck to go pursue whatever it is we feel we really should pursue, but don't have time for. I think there's mostly cultural reasons that really interfere with our ability to say, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't hit me quite right.
And were all of the women from North America that you interviewed, or was it
Yes.
a global
No,
assessment?
they were North America. They were pretty much, well, established a couple of focus groups I put together because I needed some geographical diversity. So
Sure.
basically, they were some from the east, some from mostly from the west, some from the east, and some from the, Kansas, Nebraska, whatever you call that area, Midwest, I
Yeah.
guess.
What were some of the commonalities? I think you
Yeah.
had mentioned, like, what are the top three things you found that were common for the
I
women?
think the first thing I found, which it did not surprise me, was that women put themselves last. In fact, there was a research study done, I loved this, where women were given a list of 5 things to prioritize. What would they take care of first?
Yeah.
And everybody said they'd take care of their children first. And then I loved this. Number 2 was their pets. And number 3 was their elderly parents, which at 80 or 81, whenever I did this, I was not thrilled about that.
Right.
Number 4, they took care of their significant others. And then last is where they put themselves. And I think
Wow.
that's part of the problem because we have all of these other responsibilities and duties. But so that was the first thing I found.
Yeah.
The second thing I found that really did surprise me, and frankly, it still does, is that women feel a lot of shame about being ill. We're
Mm.
supposed to be the caretakers, not the cared for. And I think that it's really, women are embarrassed when they get sick. And one of the reasons, or the main reason that I found for that, and I'd be interested in your opinion on this, is a lot of the women that I met, regardless of their illness. I mean, and I don't know if I said that all of the women I interviewed pretty much had different illnesses. I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
So one of the things I found is that most of them blamed their illness on their stress. They felt that they were overstressed and they couldn't manage their lives. So that to take that a little further, that means that their illness was almost a public acknowledgement of, look at me, I can't manage my life. I made myself sick. So they
Huh.
were very ashamed and embarrassed, so much so that in the focus group, many of the women had never talked to anybody else about their illness other than their doctor because they were embarrassed. Some of them
Wow.
were too embarrassed to even call the doctor. So I wondered if you found that at all. Have you found that in your practice?
Well, ours is a bit different. Being an integrative functional medicine clinic, we're able to actually spend time with our patients
Yes, I saw that in your, yeah.
and really get to know them. And so we become part of the family and really a trusted confidant in that. I haven't found that over 25 years of practice, but again,
Interesting.
my practice is very different where
Yeah.
we have that ability to take the time. So it's not rushing. It's not a transaction. We're really bringing the heart back into healthcare. And so
Yes.
it might be that caring component or open-heartedness of the practice where it's kind of welcomed, or we're creating an environment. I often say I'm humbled by, we're told things that no one else on the planet has heard from the individual. And so
Right.
I guess in that case, perhaps it's, we're able to create that environment. Um, but I know in the medical kind of complex, it's really hard to have any intimacy because
Yes.
of just the structure of the demands on the clinician, on the practice of, you got to see somebody every 5 to 7 minutes. There's just really no way. It's
It's
about
true.
a drug delivery method. And so that component, one of the things that we're up to creating here is that new system where the old one becomes irrelevant, and bringing the heart back into healthcare. So I might not be the best one to ask that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's fascinating. I
yeah,
think maybe concierge medicine now is
yeah,
probably trying to do on a more traditional model what you're doing,
yeah,
I would suspect.
yeah, yeah.
Huh,
Bringing that relationship back
yes, yes,
into healthcare.
yes.
Well, what else? I mean, where do you feel like, where did this go off? Has it all, I mean, you can't really go back in time. So this is the assay of today. How do you recommend women advocate for themselves in that relationship? And this is in light of, and I think a component of our listeners and viewers really are tuning into What the Health because they are looking for a different way of being. They understand our agencies have been captured, the
Right.
healthcare system is fractionated, and may not have our best interests in mind in the interaction. So this is really timely to bring this to the table for folks listening and viewing.
Well, I think what I would say in terms of advocating for ourselves, and I guess this would apply to your patient group as well as the more traditional patient groups. I think the first thing I would do when I would prepare for the doctor visit, particularly in the traditional model, because they only have, as you said, 7 minutes or 15 minutes or
Right.
whatever the hell it is, but it's not long.
Too little of time,
Yeah,
right.
right, it's irrelevant because it's such a short time. But you may I've always told people that I think they sh and I now do this myself, is that you should make a list. Write out a list of your symptoms and your medications. And when I say write it out, I mean write it out. I don't mean have it in your head. Because if you're like me, you get anxious when you go to the doctor and you
Yeah.
forget half of what you want to say, and then you walk out of the room thinking of everything you should have said, you know. And if you have a list, I think it helps focus the visit for both you and the doctor. So I think that that's really important. And I also think it's important if you get a diagnosis and to get the clinical name of your disease. I'm a strong advocate of doing my own research. And I think it's really important to know what you have and to spell it correctly so that if you do have access to a computer, you can go home and look it up and see what the prognosis is, what the treatment is, were the right number of tests done. I mean, does this make sense to you? I think that's
Yeah.
really important. And
Yeah.
then the third thing that I always suggest patients do is repeat in their own words what they heard the doctor say. And that's because one of the things that really surprised me that I found in the literature is that 85% of women do not do not understand some or all of what the doctor said. 85%, only
Mm,
15% will question the doctor. And even if that needs updating, because I did research this maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago,
sure.
so it's still not gonna be, you know, whether it's 85% or 75%, it doesn't matter, you know? A heck
Yeah.
of a lot of us don't question the doctor. So
Yeah.
it's really important to and, you know, when you repeat it back, it gives you a chance to be sure you heard correctly, but it gives the doctor a chance to be sure that they said what they meant to say. I mean, we all misspeak. So I think those are really important things you can do to guide the visit and to advocate for yourself. And of course, to take somebody with you if you can. Because again, if you're like me, I get anxious. I don't hear, you know.
Well, I like that idea a lot because sometimes even, when a diagnosis comes out or some discussion, a lot of times people will just completely shut down
That's
and
me.
then you're
Yeah.
not able to hear it. So bringing a friend or a family member, a couple sets of ears with you can be very helpful. What's interesting, we are doing a lot of more telemedicine these days, post
Mhm.
COVID, and recording sessions for our patients, so they have the recording to go back
That's
to.
great.
And understanding, I understand, like, hey, you may not have questions today, but like, here's how you contact us going
Mhm.
forward. If
Mhm.
it's an immediate need, you call us. If
Yes.
you can wait a couple days, you put it in the portal. That way we can track and keep consistent responses for you.
Right.
But
Right.
it is 85% is that's a massive component. And
Huge.
it's at some point we in general, men and women, it has been we're looking for those solutions outside of us. And one of the things that we're really
Yeah.
bringing back here is deep presence and listening. And actually, the answer lies within. I've kind of, for 25 years, been a deep listener. And what I train my clinicians on is that presence to listen, because the person in front of us will tell us exactly what's going on. If we take a
Right.
thorough enough of a case
Right.
and order the correct laboratory and imaging, we can really get at what is going on for somebody. But in the rush, the rush and the hustle and the bustle, I've seen
Oh,
misdiagnoses.
yeah.
I've seen, people come to me on a list of medications they can't pronounce, they don't know what it's for. I just got off an office visit right before this, and the woman is nebulizing something. She has no idea what it's for. I was like, well, what's that for? She said, I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, as I train and have taught my children, you really don't put anything in your body unless you know what it is
I agree
and know your
completely.
source.
Yeah,
Um, and so that component of giving the power back to basically you're a consumer in the healthcare
right,
model,
right,
and taking that power back because the power, it's your body, it's your choice. We've just gone through, I think, one of the greatest crimes against humanity of
which
forced.
one?
Yeah, there's been multiple, but on forcing people to take an untested and very unsafe medication called
Yes,
a quote unquote vaccine, which was not a vaccine.
right,
So, I mean, that is criminal in my book, and
yes,
it's against all ethics of medicine.
right,
Um, Now, I could not publicly say that during that
right,
pandemic COVID
right,
time
right.
for fear of losing my license, right? There was, and there
Of
is,
course.
and continues to be such censorship. So that component where you have advocated folks to go online and research, I would just put a little asterisk on there to know, depending on your search engine, you may not be getting all of the options or solutions, and
Well,
you may not be getting correct information from quote
that is
unquote
so
trusted sources.
no, that is so true. And just to put in a plug for my book, and it's the only one I'll do, I promise. But
Well,
at
we'll
the
put the links on too for the
Well,
around the
thanks, but
show.
no,
Yeah,
the most important part of the book, don't read the damn thing, I don't care, but at the end of the book, there's
yes,
a resource list. I've done your research for you,
I
and
love
I've
it.
given all of the reliable websites that I think are reliable anyway, that I used in my research and that pretty sure they were reliable at the time I did the research. I mean,
I
but
love that.
Mayo, if you go to Mayo Clinic, you can't go wrong, or Harvard or Stanford. I mean, I don't just say
It depends
Google.com.
on the topic, to be honest with you.
You know what? It does.
It
It does.
does.
Yes, yes. And one of the things I learned that people should really know is that it's really important to research your doctor and your hospital. I mean, some hospitals are are great for neurological issues, some are better for cardiac issues. So if you're having heart surgery, you want to go to the right hospital if you're in a location where you have a choice. I mean, I do. I'm near San Francisco, so
So
it's
let's get into that a little bit for folks because I don't think everybody understands
I
that.
didn't
So,
until I did the research, actually.
right. Yeah. So what did you find with that?
I found that hospitals, I found a couple of things that I didn't really understand fully. Number one, hospitals are graded, and a hospital can have an A, B, C, or D rating. Part of that, and you'll help me with this because it's not really part of my book, but part of that I think is based on cleanliness and also, of course, safety. So you
Yes.
can have, for example, an A in your cardiology department, and I think a C in your OBGYN department. So you really want to all in the back of the book, but you really
Sure.
need to research that. And I believe strongly in researching where my doctors have trained. If I don't know them, and if I don't have a personal recommendation, I want to
Right.
make sure that they just didn't go to a correspondence school or something.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah. The one of the kind of silly but true jokes is, what they
I
call
know just where you're
somebody
going.
that went to medical school and got D's.
Right.
Yeah, they call them a doctor. And so I think that is really important. So in the book,
Yeah.
there's resources that you've given to help do some of that research if you're
Very
needing that
absolute,
type of
and I have
care.
it organized under if you
Great.
want to research your
That's a
meds or
massive service for folks. Yeah,
it
thank you.
is. I really worked hard on that because I could see how important it was for me. There was stuff
Yeah.
I didn't know. I mean,
Now, Susan, this is a question I hesitate to ask because I'm not sure that I want to know the answer, but do women get better care from a male doctor or a female doctor?
aha, that's a huge question, and I'll tell you why. When I started researching the book, which was about 10, 15 years ago at this point, the book is newer than that, but it took me a long time. The jury was still out. Now it looks as if women are better, and this is all the newest research is that patients are probably better off with a woman doctor, women in particular. Women
Mhm.
doctors seem to spend more time with their patients than
Got it.
men doctors. They also they listen more. It's more of a relationship. Particularly if a woman is having surgery, she's better off with a woman doctor. But I
Interesting.
want to add a caveat to that because although it's mostly true, I think two things. Number one, women doctors, the appointment's longer. So if you're rushing in and rushing out because you're on your lunch hour, you're probably better off with a male doctor. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's important. Not everybody has the time to spend 15, 20 minutes, or in your case, an hour or two.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And the second thing is it depends on the doctor. I mean, my cardiologist is a male. He spends an hour with me. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
My endocrinologist is a female, and she says, "Hi, how are you?" I go, "Fine," and then we move on, and I'm out in 10 minutes. So
Right.
it just depends.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is not the gender of the doctor, but truly how comfortable you feel.
Mm,
If you're not comfortable, you'll find that you won't talk as much, you won't get as much from the visit. So I think that it's more a comfort feeling, and if you're more comfortable with women, that's great, but not everybody is.
sure. That kind of brings up a great discussion around that, you know, feeling comfortable, right? You're going into the medical system, because you have a need, right?
Right,
Usually it's
right.
odd for me to say, "Hey, great to see you." That means you're at the doctor's office and something's wrong, right? Um, And so you're already on edge. And so listening to those intuitive components of yourself, like, do you feel safe? Or do you feel
Mhm,
seen? Do you feel
mhm,
heard? And
mhm.
if not, how does somebody navigate that?
Well, personally, if I didn't feel seen and heard and I have options, I'd change doctors. I'm in a large city, I'm up
Yeah,
in Northern California. I have plenty of options. So I would just get the hell out of Dodge, I believe was the
sure.
expression. But if I didn't have those options, it's much more difficult. But I think I would say something like, I really feel that I need you to hear me. I'm feeling unheard at the moment. Let's try again in a different way. And I'd rephrase it. I'm not sure how I'd handle that because I mean, me personally, I just get pissed and I'd leave I'd never go back, uh,
Yeah,
which isn't necessarily the best way. Um,
sure.
I think the other thing I would do, I really wanted to talk about this for a second, is go back to second opinions.
Hmm.
Because, sometimes you may feel unheard, but the doctor may be able to zero in pretty quickly on what they think you have. But I think what people don't realize, and I didn't until I did the research, is correct me on this, 40, 50,000 diseases out there, many of which have similar symptoms. So getting an accurate diagnosis can be really tricky, and it doesn't mean the doctor's incompetent. It doesn't mean that you feel unsafe. It just means that there's a hell of a lot of diseases out there, and it can be, if you break your leg and you have pain in your leg and the X-ray shows a fracture, that's no, I mean, that's not brain surgery.
Yeah, a
But
little more straightforward on what's
yeah,
happening.
exactly.
Right.
So, but I think particularly if you have an autoimmune disease or something like that, and you're recommended a serious medication or a serious surgery, it's so important to get another opinion. I read somewhere, I mean, we all see what we expect to see, and the same sort of vague symptoms can feel like a stomach issue to a gastroenterologist or a stress issue to a psychologist. We
Right.
see out of a certain pair of lens.
Yeah,
And that's important to know.
sure. Yeah, I'm wondering, in the research or interviews, did you talk to many women that had experience with integrative care or alternative medicine? Did that come up at all?
Very little, but that was because of who I picked. That
Sure.
wasn't it has nothing to do with alternative medicine. The way
Sure.
I got the women I interviewed is I went to support groups, and most of the women in support groups had gone to doctors,
Yeah.
traditional doctors. That's why they were in the support group, because
Yeah.
they've been recommended. So I
Got it.
didn't have a random population at all.
Yeah. One word on your short-lived retirement, the statistics on retirement are horrendous, right? The universe recalls the pieces and parts when there's no purpose. So
Yes.
I'm really glad that you found a
Oh,
purpose and your community and family said, get back to work.
Oh, I mean, it's funny now, but looking back on it, I was depressed. I mean, I
Yeah.
was fortunate that I had enough financial resources. I was going to do lunch and play golf and go that whole route. I mean, I couldn't do it. And I just
Yeah.
started my second book. I'm doing a book now on gaslighting for women.
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
really
That's
excited about that.
important. Well, Susan, is there any last parting information, message that you'd like to give? We're going to put all of your contact information in the show notes. You know, I was going to say side swipe. No, it is called
The same thing.
Sidelined, How Women Can Navigate a Broken
Right.
Healthcare System is the name of the book. And you have a great resource section there. Any last message you'd like to share?
Well, the only thing I really want to say, and which is what the whole book's about, and you sort of said it earlier, it's your body and your choice about what to put into it, how to deal with it, and how to take care of it. It's not only your choice, but your job. And looking at it now from a perspective of being 81, it's really important because if you want to have a quality old age, and if you've taken good care of yourself, if you've exercised, and if you've eaten properly, and all of the stuff that we all know, it will pay off. I mean, so does good luck and good genetics, I know. But the part you can control
Yeah.
is taking good care of yourself, and that includes advocating for yourself. So
Awesome.
that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And
Of course.
everybody, this is why we do this show. We're bringing you information you don't hear anywhere else. If you like today's show, please give us a thumbs up, a like, a comment, and also give us a 5-star review
Yeah.
and let us know what you're going to put into action as a result of today's show. Thanks for
Good point.
tuning in.
Thank you.